It's time to pass some props to class components. So instead of creating a separate component for each movie that Jim Carrey was awesome in, we can just create a component called Best Jim Carrey Movies and pass props to this class component. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and create a new file called Best Jim Carrey Movies.js. Now this is going to be importing React and deconstructed component from React. And since this is a class-based component, we're going to call this class Best Jim Carrey Movies, and it's going to extend component. We're also going to need the one and only lifecycle method that's required, which is render. We're going to return a React element, and for the time being, we're just going to put movie by Jim Carrey. We're going to go ahead and save it. Now we're going to need to import that movie into our app functional components. So let's go ahead and comment those out. We're going to also delete that and import Best Jim Carrey Movies from components Best Jim Carrey Movies. Alright, and then render this component by typing in Best Jim Carrey Movies. Let's just double check, and sure enough, I did not. Export default Best Jim Carrey Movies from our class-based component so that it can be imported right here. Alright, we're good with everything. We can just go ahead and save it, and there we go, movie by Jim Carrey. Now, where in functional components we used prop.x to access the properties, in class-based components we need to append the this keyword, since props belongs to the this class that we just created. So if you're confused on this keyword, I suggest that you just read up on object-oriented programming. As a side note, I'm very familiar with this, and this just makes me feel like I'm at home. I love seeing classes. I love seeing methods inside classes when it comes to object-oriented programming. And even lifecycle methods, if you've done any kind of Android, for example, programming, you're going to be doing some kind of lifecycle methods and doing hooks into those kind of type deals. So you may think that by looking at a functional component that we did earlier, we just passed props to this cars function, that we would just type in props right here. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Props belongs to this class, and we access it with this keyword. So we would say this dot props, and then the same kind of property name that we did in the previous one. So for example, in here we did year, we created a custom attribute. Over here, we're going to create a custom property called movie. So where does this movie come from? Well, we're about to make it. So in Best Jim Carrey Movies, we're going to create a custom property called movie, and we'll call this one Ace Ventura. So we're going to go ahead and save it. This movie now gets attached to this props object, and we can reference it with this movie. And again, surround everything with curly braces so that it can be evaluated over here in JSX. Let's switch back. There it is, Ace Ventura by Jim Carrey. So now that we have Best Movies by Jim Carrey, we can go ahead and reuse it. So then we could say Best Jim Carrey Movies, movie is equal to, for example, Dumb and Dumber, and save it, refresh, there's that. We can actually make this component even better. So let's create a new one, and let's take an extra layer of abstraction. And instead of having Best Movies by Jim Carrey, how about we just have Best Movies by any actor? So if we wanted to just have a movie right here and then specify an actor, we can do that. So like I said, for just that one additional layer of abstraction and for additional practice, we're going to go ahead and create a new component called bestmovies.js. So again, we'll import React and component from React. This is a class-based component that we're going to call best movies, and it's going to extend component. We're going to create our render method, and it's going to return a React element. So for the time being, we'll just say movie by actor, and we're going to export default best movies. Save it. Now this whole thing's got to be imported. We're going to import best movies from components best movies, and in order to render it to the screen, we could say best movies. We don't need to put any kind of property right here since we haven't done anything yet with it, but let's look at make sure that it works. It does. It says movie by actor. So this is going to require a movie, and it's going to require an actor property. So both of these are going to be added to our props object, and then we're going to be able to access those. So we can say this.props.movie by this.props.actor. And again, we got this movie and actor by custom creating it inside our app.js. So there's movie and there's actor. So what movie and what actor do we want? So let's try The Truman Show. And that's going to be by Jim Carrey again. All right, let's go ahead and refresh it. So now we received a very similar output to the ones that we've been doing, but this was done with that best movies component, which is, like I said, just one layer extra of abstraction. So now we can do best movies, for example, is equal to the Fast and Furious, and the actor is going to be Paul Walker. So I like Paul Walker. If we want to create a little sad face comment because of this, we can't actually create the comment inside here. This will just get outputted. If you want to create a comment inside JSX, you have to surround them by curly braces. So you would do something like that. Well, actually, like that. And now it's not being displayed. So I really hate to end this tutorial on a sad note, but